Hello and welcome to the Subtype Masterclass section of the sevens as we cover the three different types of sevens, the enthusiastic visionaries. Sevens are fascinating. Well, all the types are fascinating. Sevens really do have their own variety as well. Remember, as with head types, there's anxiety, there's some fear as a central core emotion operating behind all of them. Each type tends to overdo one or underdo one. With sevens, you have this underdoing of anxiety by kind of running away from it. With the self preservation seven, this is an interesting variety of seven. They can certainly have the upbeat, sunny side up attitude that you think of when you think of sevens. They, though, are a little more practical. They're called the keepers of the castle. These are keepers of the castle. So there is this, they arrange their lifestyle around practical choices. So even though there's sevens very visionary and like all their options, there's also this kind of groundedness with like, hey, let's make some practical choices. They tend to be more materialistic and thinking of all these cool, fun things as a part of the gluttony of the seven. Lots and lots of options, might have some deep collections of different things. And they are mentally quick, thinking quick, and with an upbeat attitude, adept at trying things out until they find what suits them. This is part of what I was saying is just kind of interest. You think of these types as just being la, 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 and only positive, but they can be very hardworking and perhaps, strangely enough, even perfectionistic. They do have this desire for order and processes, and the paradox is that, they like their options. They don't want things to be limiting them down. They end up maybe resisting or resenting these very orders and processes that they themselves have set up. So if that strikes you as some of the paradoxical qualities of being a self-preservation seven that might show up again in burnout and stress as well, keep an open mind to that possibility. And the social seven is the countertype. This is the key to understanding this countertype within the name sacrifice. They're still feeling the gluttony, the passion of the seven. They're still feeling the wanting to have options and variety and doing different things and an exit strategy and being fun and leaping around from possibility to possibility. But the sacrifice, what runs counter to their apparent type and behavior, is that they are going to sacrifice these desires into serving others. You'll often see them in ministerial positions, in teaching positions. Literally, the first social seven I ever met was an anesthetist serving to help other people not feel pain. There's a sense they want to be pure. Naranjo talks about, and in a lot of respects, what's fascinating about this type of countertype of seven is they can look one-ish. So it's, as you're holding some of these, maybe thinking about the possibilities, a social seven does not look like the sunny side up of the other two varieties of seven. And this one can, in fact, even look quite one-ish. I think we already mentioned the reducing pain. They're very future directed, as all sevens are, but it tends to be to a future in which they belong. And they're the most down to earth, perhaps, of the sevens. And they are able to work in a non-hierarchical way with all people at all levels of organizations. I guess all sevens can do that. They don't love naturally the hierarchy, either being above or below. They tend to charm authority and kind of treat everyone as peers, because that's how you keep up the mood, the optimism, the possibilities. Finally, the sexual or one-to-one seven, the suggestibility. This is the one where they probably use the description, sees the world through rose-colored glasses the most. They can be among the most high energy and extroverted of all of the subtypes in the Enneagram. We've mentioned here and there, like who are the hardest working types or who might be the most self-critical types. Well, with sevens, you get a lot of high energy and extroversion, especially if you mix the intensity of the sexual one-to-one instinct with that jumping around, often upbeat energy of the personality structure of the seven. They are in a constant search for ways to be entertained or to entertain others. And they often are visionaries and dreamers, seeing the possibilities and just constantly seeing the next one and the next. So their imaginations are likely to take over all of their centers, and they can be susceptible to other people's ideas. A great counterbalance to them immediately you could just think of is getting into that sixth wing, right? Getting into that sixth wing and being able to forecast a little bit, being able to take in the negative data. But that's not the point of this intro, this masterclass on the subtypes. It is to familiarize us with these and to remind you too that we are showing these in the context of burnout and stress. And a lot of times when we're doing that, we're doubling down on our personality and our personality structures really coming out. Because we become unconscious, we go into survival mode, we go to what has always worked in the past. And if you're here right now, in a lot of ways, your personality might have led you to some of the burnout and stress that you're experiencing, even for all the ways in which it also works for you. So beginning to familiarize yourself with this terrain and getting an accurate typing is going to be really important to being able to do the self-observation and then to be able to keep unpacking that and breaking it down and opening up the possibilities for your responses to burnout and stress, which we're all going to face at times. Thank you for listening to this particular recording. We encourage you to listen to others, especially if you're in the process of kind of trying to type yourself.